Hey people, Shaman Hulk here for Shamanic Lodge. People ask me why shamanic training, at least with the lineage I come from, is so extreme. Why is there such uh, exploration, self-exploration processes that are just way off the charts compared to other systems? Well, mainly that's because we end up going places a lot of people not just can't go, shouldn't go, or just refuse to go. The truth is that the real mysteries about shamanism or metaphysics in general are in the really dangerous, crazy places that movies are made about. Give you a quick story about some things. I had two girls, Gina and Tara, years ago that wanted to do shamanic apprenticeships. They thought it would be cool, because everybody in the surrounding area of Fort Lauderdale then was, into the whole Wiccan thing, and they thought, well, that'd be different. And they wanted to know a little bit about it, see what I did during the time. And I'm like, well, you guys can follow me around on the weekend, this weekend. So one of the things is I had to drive down to the Keys because a real grandmaster shaman, Edwin, you know, asked for my help about something, and I was really honored to do that. He asked my help a couple times, so I was just like thrilled I could be around a guy like this at his accomplishments and so on. So and I tried to talk on the phone a couple times, but it just didn't work. It just kept cutting out every time he started to tell me about the project that he wanted me to look into. So we drove down to the Keys. We saw him at his house, and the girls were telling him that they wanted to get into shamanism and all that, and they were just full of questions. He goes, "Oh, maybe you girls should just do a vision quest." Now, Edwin was a piece of work, so tons and tons of mosquitoes. None of them ever bit him, but he did that thing he does where he just asked the mosquitoes to leave, and they did. Had the girls sit down and then just touched each one with a feather on their head and just sent them to sleep. When he does this, you go on these wild trips that you think that you're in for years and you're in just a couple minutes. He said, let's just go back and see your old shamanic selves in past lives. Boop, boop, they're gone. And he was telling me about this project. He goes, I just can't get a vision on it from here. I was wondering if you could look into it. If you think it's real, we'll do a split. And a split means that one shaman goes in and checks out a place, and then any entities that are there that are really negative or looking to grab somebody, or whatever, latch onto that signature as the other shamanism kind of comes up and does like a flanking movement or an ambush, to do the real work on them to get them suspended out of a place so you can undercut their attachment and then send them back off to wherever. So this is kind of like a 101 kind of move, but he, for some reason, he just couldn't get a feel on it, which is kind of weird. Like I said, because he was really good. So these girls wake up and they're looking around like they're in some new world, and we're laughing because he's like, "No, this is where you live now, this life. What you that was a memory. When you were there, this was a memory. Got it?" And they're like, "No, it's okay." So it's cool. We got a long way to drive back to Fort Lauderdale. So we go. He gives me the address. We go to the address, and before that, I'd asked them, I said, I have this feeling to tell you girls to get a set of clothes. When we go to see this guy, get a set of clothes that you can throw away. And I'm going to bring you some two little backpacks, and the two backpacks, we're going to throw them away too. And they're like, why? I'm not sure, but this is just do it. And so they did. They came in their baggy sweatshirts, looked like kind of like homeless tourists, flip flops and all that. And I did the same thing. I just had ragged clothes. And we were seeing everyone. Then we go to this house, and but to do that, I parked my truck at my house and got a buddy of mine, Jamaican shaman, who's a cab driver, and said, "Hey, could you take us to an address and just kind of wait for a bit?" He goes, "Yeah, man." And so I told him Edwin gave me this place, and to go check out. So he was just going to wait outside. And when we get to this place, it looked like a crack house from hell. No electricity, no windows, nothing. And I'm like, well, this is interesting. But nobody was outside. Usually in these kind of neighborhoods, a lot of people outside. No one was outside. And that was a weird part. And imagine like this place, it's summertime in South Florida. no windows are on this place, no electricity, and you walk inside the door and it's fucking ice cold. And these girls are like, and Tara jumps out, like, I'm not going in there. It's weird. Gina was kind of cool with it. She goes in, we're checking it out, and I'm like, yeah, we don't need to stay here long. We're just gonna go. We can tell him it's real. You know. And asked Tommy. I said, "You take us to the beach?" He goes, "Yeah, man." So he took us to the beach, and we got in all the clothes on. 'Cause I told him, "Don't bring anything in your pockets, nothing." And went into the sea, took all the clothes off, came out naked, got dressed with the stuff that we had brought, and left everything, backpack, clothes, everything in the ocean. And the reason you do this is kind of like you got to treat it like a really, really negative energy, like a biohazard. And so these two girls are still shook up about the vision quest with Edwin, still wondering which lifetime that they're living. Tommy and just the things that he has in his cab and just being the Jamaican shaman that it was. And then this house, because I think about it, I still get the chills sometimes. And and then we went back to my house. Tommy took us back to my house after we changed clothes. Got back in the truck, and on the way back up to the bookstore, I get pulled over, by this cop, and I'm just like, what was I doing, And I get out, the cop gets out, I look, and it's a girl I knew from the bookstore years ago that became a cop. And she leans over into the window. She goes, "Hey, Hawk, how was it?" I'm like, "Well, what? That house? Fucking weird, Lisa. You should go check it out. Edwin's going to be up there later today. Go check it out." And when she leaned over, she had this big pentacle, you know, and the girls would look at that. They saw crystals around her neck. She just kind of put it back inside of her shirt. She goes, "Hi, girls. You hanging with him today?" They're like, "Yes, ma'am." She goes, "Okay." And then she left. We go up to the bookstore, and the girl running the bookstore then is just like, "Oh, yeah, Hawk, we got a heavy night here. Some really heavy energies. Can you feel it when you walked in?" Yeah, yeah, I could feel it. Actually, when we parked the truck, I could feel it. You girls feel it? And they're like, "What?" We go in. The first speaker of the night was about this guy that was doing some channeling from his spirit guides and Channel 86 and all this other stuff about how he remembers his past life as a woman who was a priestess and a princess and blah, blah, blah. And it went around to all these New Age stories like this, you know. And then so we say our goodbyes and leave and everything. I'm like, dude, tell the girl, "Do you feel that heavy energy, all that stuff?" And they're like, "Fuck." So anyway, Tara backed out of the apprenticeship that day. Didn't even start day one. Gina actually became a really good shaman, really good at this stuff. And actually, the first seance that I went with that was like real was with her. And I was sitting on the carpet. We were the three of us, me, Gina, and this girl that she was working with, whose husband just died. They were calling in the husband. And I just got scooted back on the carpet. I mean, just. And finally, after the second time, I'm like, "Dude, I'm not after your wife. I'm here with Gina, so just checking this out. I'm just a male element." And then it stopped. And then I forgot the other girl's name, but she was asking about shamanism and all this other stuff. She was just curious because the seance actually worked, and uh, and and then I reminded Gina of her first day, and she shared that story. But we go into places that are just weird, off the charts, the stuff that really spawns people imaginations or just wrecks their imagination when they do the reality check about what's really going on there. Oh, by the way, so with that house, that's when we started really noticing entities that were connected with drugs. And this is when crack was really becoming a real stronghold in Fort Lauderdale area, Miami area. And these houses were starting to become like a normal thing. So different Santeria people, witches, and whatever would go and try to do these things and be totally ineffective. And but Edwin he cleared that up because he had friends in the neighborhood that had wanted to do healing centers and they didn't need this shit infecting the neighborhoods. So that's kind of like the weird things, you know. I thought of these stories this morning was I read this email about why do we do things extreme. So for those of you that are working with the new shamans that I know that part of our circle, that's why. You know, I'm sure the people that you're working with can tell you some of the more extreme conditions and situations that I worked with them, whether it be sweat lodges, the healing circles, possessions, working with people on appointments, and so on. And they can tell you how real it gets, you know, and the things that they've dealt with. So hang in there. You know, it's like I tell everybody in the beginning, the first couple of years is all self exploration, deprogramming, because you need to get down to your core. And we listen to what you say. We listen to what you don't say. We watch your actions. We put these pieces together, and then we devise the trip that takes you through the self exploration process. And so, yeah, you find yourself doing things that you just wouldn't normally do. But you have to remember that everything is an energy equation. All the other stuff, all the labels, all the um, perceptions about it, all the what you're calling it for right, wrong, weird, illogical, is all products of programming, all perceptions. If you look at everything, every function only as an energy equation, you'll get right through it. And yeah, you start to feel yourself really being separated from what you call reality or what you knew was reality, thought you knew was reality. And that's when you really start learning how to live between the worlds and not just two worlds. People always think that this world and what world? No, this world and all the others. And it gets to be, people like to think of it linear. Everything's flat or two dimensional, like, oh, this or that. No. You know, it's kind of like you draw something on a piece of paper, like a circle. And people are like, oh, it's in that circle. No, make that circle a sphere. Okay. And then everything's in that. And that sphere is inside another one, and so on. And the more you're into your center and your truth, the more you're able to go anywhere within that sphere or go anywhere within the containment, you know, that sphere is in. And the only way to do that is to get totally clean. And that's the cleansing and some of the extreme things that we put people through. And we have a rule that we follow. It's just not some haphazard thing. The rule, the golden rule is it's okay to take people where they don't want to go, but it's wrong to take the people where they can't go, meaning they physically or mentally just cannot handle it at that time. And so this is why it's so important for you guys to be really completely open and honest with us so we can take you through all the little hidden places within you to clean out stuff and have you working at your maximum capacity. Um, because sometimes people can say all the right things, do all the right things, and we feel like, well, okay, well, looks like this person's ready to go there. And then the next day we get an email or something saying, like, yeah, I went too far too fast. And then later on you find out what they didn't tell you, you know. And so nowadays I'm just so cautiously paranoid about how far I take people because no one ever tells me the truth. No one. And even though they think they did, this is the part. You can get so programmed into believing something of what you think is your reality and your absolute truth until you crack it open. And people have especially been through a lot of, you know, traumas that have this like heavy defense mechanism from their PTSD. Um, you know, it's hard to get through that. You know, but when they do, the fact that they're that kind of person that made that strong defense mechanism, you know, that survivalist instinct, is what can make them great people to work with in these really extreme conditions. Anyway, so that goes into longer videos and so on. By the way, I'm open to travel. If you guys have a venue, you're within and right now I'm just going within the United States, you know, and territories. If you have something that you'd like me to do, workshops, speak, help you set up the energy healing circles the way that I do them, and help you start a retreat, spiritual center. Message me at shamaniclodge@gmail.com. If you like any of the material, like, subscribe, so on. If you, hey, I'm also at PayPal as Shaman Hawk, and shamaniclodge@gmail.com is also on the PayPal thing. Because you help, the reason I'm able to do this and help other shamans do their work is because, I'm somewhat semi-retired and I don't have to be doing the whole work thing for 10, 12 hours a day. I'm building my environmental project boat. I got a couple other projects I work with, but we really, just like in the old days, the community supports the shamanic network, and the shamanic network helps maintain and improve, the lifestyles and quality of life for people who support the shamanic network. So it's a nice little relationship we have going. So anything, helps. Everything helps, and everything is deeply appreciated. All right, catch you guys later.